We're going to learn 3 ways to start the thread on the hook. First way is to give yourself more control. Second way is to save thread. And third way is to save the most thread you can possibly save. Got a hook in the vise and we need to start the thread now. So we're going to look at 3 ways. The first way that I learned to start and stop gives you a little more control, but it uses up thread. First thing I want to do is I want to get a little bit of the thread pulled off my bobbin, and I want to wrap it around my finger so that I wind up with good control and I can pull the thread and it'll stay on my finger. Loop it around the hook wherever I want to start the thread. In this case, I'm going to start right here, and I'm going to make a couple of wraps toward the eye of the hook. And then I'm going to go back over those wraps. And now that's a jam knot because I have the tag end jammed underneath the other wrap. So from here, there are a couple of things I can do. I can do touching wraps. And if I do touching wraps, I'm going to use this as sort of a ramp to slide each wrap down against the wrap right before it. And then when I get to the end, I'm going to cut off my tag end. Or if I need the tag end, some of the flies, for example, Tross hair cricket, some of the flies use the tag end in the tie. So that's one thing we can do. We can cover the hook so that if the hook were white and thread's black, you wouldn't be able to see any hook underneath the black thread. The second thing we can do is we can do sort of a spiral wrap. And we can cover the shank, leaving spaces between the wrap. 2 reasons we put thread on the shank of the hook. First one is the thread forms a nice base that's not as slick as the metal hook. The second reason we do that is that we want to use that thread color as a base to tie the fly on. If I'm using the thread color as a base to tie the fly on, then I'm going to cover the hook with touching wraps. If I'm just using it to rough up the shank, then I can spiral it back and not have to use as much thread. One of the things you might be concerned about in that first method is it uses a lot of thread. I mean, I used probably 12 inches of thread. That's not a ton, but it's some. So this is another way. You need about 3 or 4 inches, something like this, if you can see that. And then what you do is just pinch the thread to hold it. Again, about 2 eye lengths, take 2 wraps forward, and then wrap back over the other end of the thread. And again, we can do a spiral wrap, we can do touching wraps, we can do a variety of things depending on what we're trying. We're just talking about starting here. So that's the second method we can use. We're still using a couple inches of thread with that, and some people are bothered by that. So here's the third method. For the third method, I need as little thread coming out of this bobbin as I can get. So I'm going to turn it back to about 1 inch of thread coming out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pinch the thread between the hook shank and my finger, and I'm going to take a couple of wraps forward, and then I'm going to start coming back. And the trick to this is learning to get your finger out of the way without losing control of the thread. So that's the third method. Pinch it behind the hook, a couple of wraps forward, and then go back. All of these accomplish the same thing. All of these accomplish a jam knot.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe for all our videos and tight lines.